for the hot dog energy. Yeah.
All right, let's call meeting to order. Approval of last month minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, let's start off with the most important item on the agenda, really, which is acknowledging Mr. Steve Ernst. For his, it's not on the agenda, but it's in my report, but acknowledging Steve for his service. This is his last board meeting for the Rockford Mass Transit District. Steve was appointed back on March 25th, 2016. His first board meeting was his first board meeting was March 25th, 2016, after being appointed March 7th. So, over 8 years of service on the board and dedication to transit and the community, and we couldn't be, more proud to have been serving alongside you and serving the community in this way, and appreciate all your leadership and your support that provides staff, and we're gonna miss you.
Well, thank you
It's
very much.
been great to have
I've
you.
had a lot of fun, I can tell you that. It's been, this is a great board to be on, so
Lower.
I'm gonna miss it.
I'll miss you.
Thank you.
As a reminder, right, during your tenure, right? You completed a downtown transfer center renovation project, and that's its conclusion, adopted the sustainability policy. Purchased our first hybrid buses, our first electric buses. We're part of the group deciding to move forward with the rebranding campaign. Then, they have the Mulberry Facility Expansion Project that we're kicking off here as a result of your leadership and participation for us on the board on the efforts to get that project underway. And then ultimately, as a note, during your time on the board, the RMT has been awarded over $54 million in capital funding, over $14 million in federal competitive grants, over $39 million in state competitive grants, 21 million of which has gone to supporting the purchase of low and no emission vehicles. So pretty robust legacy that you leave behind in your participation here.
Give yourself all around applause, because that takes a lot of work. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So with that, we'll move on to the other items in the
I
agenda.
thought we were rescinding his, just kidding.
I already turned in my key fob, so.
So first off, the Illinois end session report was included in your packet for review. Just a note on there that the state, as part of the budget this year, had a one-time reallocation of funding where they're using monies from the road fund and transferring them into the transit fund, and a portion of that monies that is being, the same amount that is being transferred in from the road fund is being used otherwise to support other projects in the state. So it's a little bit of a strange change. Some gas tax monies that are funding the road fund are now going to transit, but it was one of these provisions that's a workaround for a lockbox funding thing that they had to do to make the funding work for the budget this year. So something that the Public Transit Association will be monitoring, and we do not want to see it be an ongoing thing. We obviously want to continue the same funding mechanisms in place, the general fund, but it's something different. It doesn't have a real negative impact because it's going to be a fully funded budget this year. So just something to note, but we'll be watching. With that, then we can move on to the regular part of the agenda. First off, we have the finance section with payment of bills. We have Williams McCarthy Services rendered through May 23rd, 2024, and the AGHL Law Services rendered through April 30th and May 31st, 2024. Any questions on either of those items?
I have no questions.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of accounts payable invoices. So including your packet were those items listed at $727,953.81. So we have a motion to approve the invoices in that amount.
I'll move that we approve the unaudited financial statement, accounts payable invoices The amount.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you. So item B, then the approval of the unaudited financial statements for March and April of 2024 were included in your packet. Were there any questions on those items? Still trending in the
Trending in,
direction
yeah, right.
of budget variance. So,
No question.
okay, great. Seeing none, are there any need a motion to approve of both items?
Make a motion to approve the unaudited financial statements for both March and April of 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have the pension portfolio review for the period of June 13th, 2024, and the pension investment statement for the month ending May 31st, 2024. And so with us today, we have Mr. Jeff DiBenedetto to give us some positive news regarding those items.
As Steve pointed out, I like to come to the meetings when we have positive things to report. Thank you for inviting me today. As you know, we do a shortened overview than we did in the past, so I'll start here on this page, which matches the calendar year and through June 13th. We started the year at just under 29 million. We've made half of the pension contribution so far this year. Currently at June 13th, we're at 30,738,839. We've had just under $1.7 million in gain, or just under 6% return through the 13th. So it's been a great year, both in stocks and bonds thus far. Down below, when you look at how the money is allocated currently, we are a little overweighted towards equities right now. We have about 35% in bonds and cash currently. When the district makes its second allocation into the pension fund, at that time, we're gonna analyze how much cash that we need to fulfill pension obligations. Then we may do some rebalancing just to make sure that we don't get too risky on the stock side. Overall, though, then if you switch to the next page, which is the fiscal year, more great news there. As you know, I think our assumption is 6.5%. So that is our target each year as far as earnings goes. This year, if you go about halfway down the page, you can see at least at June 13th, we were at 12.27. So as I talked about with Mike, that'll do one of two things when Schwab does the actuarial services for you coming up at the beginning of the year. It'll either reduce the obligation that you'll have for next year, or you can contribute the same amount and it'll increase the valuation of the overall pension fund. So that's a discussion that'll be upcoming for you guys to have. A couple of highlights I just want to cover as far as the markets go. We are performing well, but you're seeing in the news just about every day how the markets are at all-time highs, and you may be looking at this and going, okay, 6% and 12 over 12 months is pretty good, but the market seems like it's doing better. Well, as you recall, late last year, we had this group of stocks called the Magnificent Seven. And then also this year, we've had a group of artificial intelligence stocks that are leading the way. And if they're in those particular indices, that's what's driving them up. Just like you and I, the pension portfolio is much more diversified. So while we have great positive returns, that would be what's explaining the difference between what you see in the news versus what you see here. But certainly we have nothing to complain about. As far as the economy goes, we've been talking about interest rates and when they may go lower. We're starting to see that the work Federal Reserve did in increasing interest rates to slow the economy is working. Inflation is showing that it's coming down. Consumer confidence is down, which that's the fuel that feeds the fire in the United States for our economy. It's still about 70% driven by consumption. Gas prices were down, as we were talking about. They've ticked up a little bit again. But they're actually this Friday, the PCE, personal consumption expenditures, which is the Fed's preferred rate for inflation, will be announced. So we'll get a better gauge where things sit at the beginning of the summer at the end of this week. All bets now are that we'll see 2 rate increases, one in September and December. I wouldn't be surprised if we just see one. And as I already alluded to, it might come around when we're going to have an election later this year. But either way, it sounds like we're going to get a reduction in rates. That should fuel the economy. It should also fuel the stock market, which will help our returns. So all is well. We're going to see continued volatility through the summer, probably, especially with some of this data that's coming out. But overall, I think we're going to continue to have a positive year in the pension portfolio.
Great. Any questions?
Any questions?
Good.
You have to go to work.
Great job.
Yeah.
I'll keep it going. Congratulations,
Oh,
Steve.
thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great
All right.
day.
All right. So move on to E3 operations, fixed route ridership, statistic report for May 2024, including your packet for review or any questions on that information.
I like the numbers.
Some trends continue.
Revenue's up.
Million rides now through May, so we're looking at a year with at least 1.1 million, which is a nice rebound from where we've been. So that positive current continues. And we included again in this month's report just the ridership by fare category as well, to take a look at just revenue wise where we're at before the last month of the year. A couple notes there, as you can see, in the free ride categories, veteran rides, are really really continuing to be a gainer there, and it's up to 3,637, which is the highest number of free rides in that Veterans Free program that we've had since the initiation of that. Student free ride program over 1,032 in the month of May. So those continue to trend upward, and we're seeing year over year increases in those categories. So that's another program that was initiated during your tenure. Just wanted to note that real quick too.
Thank you.
So if there's any other questions, if there's no other questions, then we'll move on then to the demand response ridership report for April of 2024. Any questions on that?
Oh, it's huge. 52% gain. For April.
Yeah, compared to last year, whatever last year was, April was a little bit down. I think we see that rebounded for, again, consistent with the other months. You can see it's 11% in total for the year. The SMT amount or a portion of that up 4% for the year. Separate category, looking over at BCCA, I think we talked a little bit about with those 4 fixed route trips that are ending beginning next week. Actually, it's the last week of those fixed route trips that are providing to Belvedere. Those trips will hopefully convert over to BCCA trips. As you can see, the utilization of that service that continues to perform well, and ridership continues to gain in that area. So, there's no other questions on that. We'll move on to the next item, which is the maintenance and vehicle facilities report. First item is A, reporting fixed route buses and paratransit vehicles for May 2024. Any questions on that data?
Didn't see anything out of the ordinary? Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Think
It's
so.
pretty much
It looked pretty good.
the standard performance data that we've been trending. So there's none there. Then we'll move on then to item B, then the maintenance facilities update report. So first off, as we noted last month, the charging infrastructure, we were testing that out. We've been utilizing that in the building here, getting to the point where, aside from charging here daily, reconfiguring our lineup downstairs and parking vehicles in a way that we charge during off-peak periods. They mostly have been charging in the meantime when it's convenient, so we're still taking a little bit of the peak rate charges on a monthly basis as a result of that. Charging at the peak times, we're going to be changing that over to doing during the off-peak times, so to lower our costs associated with that. So that's kind of the final step in fully rolling that out there. But for the most part, they've been performing very well. A vehicle at about 20% charge coming in takes there's a shade over 2 hours to fully charge one vehicle. That's about right, George? Yeah. So performing well, quickly charging vehicles, only had a few little hiccups in terms of their uptime, so that's good. Fixed route bus order, 4 diesel buses have been through the line and are for the most part done, constructed. There's still some parts they're waiting on, and those are on delay and back order. So they're not scheduled to be arriving until August. So Dan and George will be going out to do the vehicle inspections at their facility come then, and then hopefully we'll have them on property shortly thereafter by the beginning of September. So This last four, to replace the 2019 buses will be here shortly. Facility expansion project that kind of wraps into the other item with C. We'll just cover that right now. I had a pre-bid meeting for that 2 weeks ago, as we mentioned to the board. The bids went out. So the pre-bid meeting was conducted, good turnout. We followed that up with a walkthrough, so those contractors that are interested can take a look at the facility and the job they're bidding on. And then, notes 20 contractors run on site to look at that with the architect and ownership. So I think positive response so far. We'll be answering questions over the next several weeks that come up as they put their bids together. We noted the board that July 16th was our original date for bids to be due, but I think as we're looking at this and answering questions, that date's likely to be extended. That may get pushed another week or so.
That's a big project. I think.
Yes, yeah, understanding with the 4th of July week as well, and considerations they put in their stuff together, that is likely gonna push that at least a week in the bid date. So that'll be, everyone will be notified through addenda of a change for that, but I think that is gonna help us anyways at the end, so that's that item. Then the telephone system replacement is ongoing. So in the process of developing the RFP, hoping to have that done by September, and then getting that issued on the street and selecting a vendor at the end of the year. Paratransit software project continues, helping put all the information together for them to understand all the pieces of the puzzle of the current system and ensure that they've got all of the elements fully identified of how to transition. So that's been a very lengthy process, involved process with staff, putting all the information together and working with them through that, but we're still again on target based on the schedule we provided the board this year to start rolling that out by the base system by September. Finally, shelter installs from the board. We had received some funding through the county through their ARP grant or CARES grant, I think, sometime back, and we placed a shelter order. We finally got the shelter put in at the corner of 7th and Broadway, across from Crusader Clinic. So that was part of that original shelter order we got in recently, and that went up, and thanks to the county again for particularly County Board member Salgado, who's the one who identified that as a project in his area that he wanted to allocate funding to, so we appreciate that. The other item that I think I'll note on that is there was a separate shelter we did put up at former Concord Commons, where we had a shelter that was destroyed by an auto accident, which we replaced that shelter last week with a brand new shelter that's similar to the ones that are out in East State Street corridor. So that's I think a worthy item. So any questions on any of that information? Okay, great. Then we will move on to the next item, which is the claims history report for May 2024. This is in your packets. Any questions on that?
Yeah.
Change that ride, but for the most part for the year, it's still in very good shape. So.
Yeah.
Okay. No other questions on that. We'll move on to the marketing section, E6. First item is the approval of the advertising contracts. Orlando?
Yeah, 3 contracts, new contracts this month, 2 for renewals. Janesville Convention and Area Conventions Bureaus. Peoples. There wants to renew 4 signs, and then we also have Rockford's Best Currency Exchange. They have interior rail cars and have for the last few months with us. But the third is a newer one, pediatric care. They actually are requesting a pretty big buy, 20 street size signs and then 30 interior rail cards. So they're just promoting pediatric care, things of that nature, and they're doing that for 2 months. So those are the 3 contracts that are requested for advertising.
We'll make a motion to approve the 3 advertising contracts.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, so the next item we have is discussion and taking necessary action on the UPass pilot program, and considering making it permanent. So memo included for your review outlines the program to date, the ridership that we've experienced and our revenue that we've taken in, as well as some follow-up activity we've done on through Orlando's efforts on the marketing side, do some surveying and outreach to understand, what the world of the UPass is currently and who's using it by taking sample size at RBC. And so that survey and the results were included in the packet as well for review. The short of it was that, we had 49 students that did complete the survey. 8 or 16% use our MTD. 16 say they've used it before, which is 33% of the respondents. Interesting question. We asked them if it was free, how many of you would ride our MTD if this was free rides? And 84% of them said that they would.
Jump on.
Yeah.
Right.
Turn some down free. 31% or 31 students or 3% stated sustainable transportation was important to them, or very important to them. Going back 16% or 16 students or 33% stated they heard of the UPass program. 5 students or 31% who have heard of the UPass program have stated they used it. So that was then 5 of the 8 said they've used the UPass ultimately if we're using it currently to get to class. So a lot of good information garnered from that. I think, at the end of the day, we've seen positive results from it where ridership is averaging about 324 rides per month. There were 5,000 rides since its initiation. So I think, it's one of those ones where there's opportunities still there, such marketing efforts and continued marketing efforts and working with the various institutions here in town, of which Orlando's been engaged in reaching out to them to try to get more and more information out, message out, and direct marketing efforts out, and continue with that as a part of our fare package. So that's what staff was proposing. We initially intended to do it as a 1-year pilot. We wanted to get through the second semester, so we had a year and a half worth. Each semester we've seen more and more usage, and I think we will continue to see that as it continues to mature. So we're recommending. Any questions?
Do we allocate marketing funds in this budget cycle for this program, or is that something we need to look at?
Not specifically for this, but that's been the focus of the marketing efforts that we've been involved in over the past years. Most of the budget has gone towards the K through 12 program.
Yes.
Program.
Yeah, and then with this program, it's new and, we're competing with what I saw going on campus is just, we're still competing with students who are still driving and letting them know the benefits of what this program is. So with it being as early, you're still kind of climbing an uphill battle, and really trying to figure out how to market them the best, because just to get them, I was giving out free speakers for the survey, and, you only get 10 seconds of their time, for the youth. So, competing with that, but I think, like it says in the lower paragraph, it's just really focusing on how to really market to them and get their attention, let them know within that, 20 to 30 seconds that you have them. I think we'll continue to see, good trends towards it. But I love how it's, the one fair we have that kind of markets that younger crowd that's not K through 12, but it's not also that, major adult. Even though there's not age restrictions on it, it's still kind of that middle ground that we have to connect with those people. So.
And the ones that in the survey kind of you draw a bubble around some of the other pieces of information that were gathered from that. 20% of students that took the survey live outside of the community, based on their mileage that they indicated. You draw a bubble around 5-10 miles around RBC campus. The majority of students live 5 to 10 miles away from there. Yes, that 10 miles, that's outside of the urban area there. So you got 20% are outside there. When you look at, 71% of the students are currently driving, another 6% carpools here, 77% of students are participating in either driving or riding in cars currently, and a small percentage that makes up the walk and walking, biking and public transit piece. So I think we'll continue as we saw, there's interest, in the free thing, whether it worked for them, that would be another question, but I think getting more foothold into making sure that people are generally aware of it and knowing that it's at a reasonable cost and that it's available to them as well.
Well, I'll move that we approve the UPass pilot program becoming permanent.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item then grants, approval of resolution R 24-06, the FTA 5307 application. Oh,
Yep, presenting the resolution. This approves Mike to execute. We will, be submitting, as you see, $6,270,413 in this grant. Over $5 million is gonna go to preventive maintenance, ADA, and the operating expense for security. The rest is for some, capital projects of shop equipment, one support vehicle, some miscellaneous equipment, and communication equipment, which includes the telephone system that Mike just mentioned, so.
and if you recall back in February when we submitted the budget, this is the projects that we outlined during that time period to make you aware of what percentage of the funds we were using for the state operating budget were coming from the federal side. This completes that process. So we did that a little bit different, as you recall, than we've done in the past, where we presented the information that we would be applying for the 5307 grant, and this is the actual action that you take to actually initiate that use of funds.
We did, publish a program of projects, which is required with 5307 funds. To date, we have not had any response. I believe that's open till July 8th. But again, we have not heard anything from the public on this, so
And then these items are on the tip.
good to go.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution R 24-06.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Next item, we have the safety and training update report from May 2024, included in your packet. Any questions on that?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay, great.
No, it's good.
Thank you. Seeing none there, we'll move on to E9, other business. So I'm gonna have items on other business today. First is the approval and updates, the RMT. Well, actually, we should do this in reverse. So if we can entertain item B first, then go to item A. That makes more sense. You're okay with that?
Mr. Chairman, you okay with that? All right.
I think we had this in reverse. Sorry. So first is the RMT service animal, because this informs the next. Sorry. So consider B first. Approval of RMT service animal policy. So this is an outgrowth, I think, from our safety committee system and feedback that we've been receiving from not only our customers here in the RMT service area, but also our SMD service area customers, and just the general issues that we've been dealing with when it comes to animals on the vehicle and how we manage animals on the vehicle and what's considered a service animal from a comfort animal and a pet, and what are the restrictions that come with that. And then on top of that, no matter what kind of animal it is, what happens if there's some conduct by that animal that is inappropriate, uncomfortable, or felt to be unsafe amongst them. So this policy essentially positions what we operate as a practice in the past of how we define and respond to incidents that arise with animals, and gives us a little bit more black and white, clear cut guidance on how we handle them. Drex, do you want to add anything specific to this? But this was something that Drex and the safety committee and operations worked on along with paratransit, and ensured that we were following ADA compliance and all DOT.
Oh, yeah, I think
guidelines.
you get pretty much everything. I mean, it just fleshes out, according to ADA standards of what the differences are and, how we respond to that. So, this was something that, was incoming and we went ahead and needed to, put on the paper and get a policy. So it's definitely moving forward in the right direction.
Questions?
No? Motion to approve?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the service animal policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So then, in consideration of that, that's the animal service policy, we've provided updates to our code of conduct, suspension exclusion policy to incorporate those items into that, along with some other additional items that would also be covered under prohibited acts, including unauthorized photography, videography in the restricted areas of state property. But the main update here is part of our periodic review of this code of conduct was to ensure that we've got the non-compliance of service animal policy incorporated into this. So that's the change that we're bringing forward to consider as an update and approved by the board.
I'll move that we approve the updates to the RMT Code of Conduct Policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And then the next item that we have is approval of the amount payable policy. So as we've been going through an update of both our procurement policy as well as our finance policies, this is one that we recognize that probably needed to be updated as well. This ties into some of the policies changes that we implemented during COVID, the pandemic, with the authorization, the electronic authorization of payments over invoices over 10,000 that we implemented and had a policy that we approved, as well as the check signing changes where it's an electronic process as opposed to physical hard copy signing check policy. So as we're reviewing this, the one item that did come up was this $10,000 threshold that we've had in place, and going back, we went back 20 some years and it's been $10,000, and the value on $10,000 over 20 years has changed quite substantially. If you just run a CPI, it's $10,000 is about nearly $30,000 now. So what we just simply want to do is make the number consistent with what the contract approval threshold is currently, where the executive directors authorize for expenditures less than 25,000. We thought it'd be reasonable to align this with that, and so that we've got some consistency across policies, so that we ask the treasurer to approve invoice over a certain threshold is no longer 10, it would simply be over 25 moving forward. And those invoices are typically all the operating budget. So trying to make it a little bit more streamlined and pull together those parts that we previously implemented other policies so that they're consistent. So does that cover it, Ron? Yes. Any questions?
That's a pretty.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the accounts payable policy and procedures.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. So with that, then we are at executive session. Before we get to that, we're just going to note the next meeting is scheduled for July 22nd at 3:30.
You two said you could, yeah.
Okay, and we also would note that we'd like to put a hold on 2 dates for a possible meeting in August 12th and 13th.
August 12th and 13th at 3:30.
But yeah, that then, we do have an executive session, and we'd like to do that.
That's gonna be our last meeting too.
I think we will work that, see where we're at with the items, but it could be based on the fact that we now moved it to mid-August at that point. I think we were originally scheduled to meet
Fourth.
The 26th.
26th, right? 2 weeks out. So there may be an item that may need to be considered at a later date. It won't be ready for that meeting. So I'd like to keep that open for now as
So
possible.
12th and 13th, I guess. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
For now, just a hold date,
Right.
because we don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so then we'll go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters and discuss litigation matters pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C 11 of the Open Meetings Act.
So, second.
All in favor?
Having no further business, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Don't go anywhere. We're getting.